Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Mark, this is Spiguyver Backpacking. Today I want to talk about something a little bit different than normal. So anyone who follows me on Facebook would know, because I posted last night kind of what was going on. I actually just got out of the hospital, spent a few days in the hospital, a couple days in the hospital. So what led to that, what was going on, and kind of, what should you guys be paying attention to? So here's kind of the scenario. I woke up Monday morning, wasn't feeling quite all right. Like normally I get up and I'm tired, but everything is good and I just go about my day. But on Monday, I just wasn't feeling quite right. But went to the gym, had a semi-good workout, and then went to work, showered, went to work. So I got to the gym at about 5:30, worked out till 7:15, showered, got to work about, 7:40. I work pretty close to the gym. Went in, got my computer started up, started doing some work, and then was walking to go find somebody. I work in a 1 million square foot facility, so lots of walking within the building if I need to go somewhere or do something, go to one of our secure areas. But as I was walking, right here, I got a pain, and it was actually like completely opposite that on the back. Like if you were to draw a straight line through here, so on this side, I was getting a pain on my back. And it was like a pain and a cramping almost at the same time. Wasn't very pleasant. It lasted about 5 seconds or so, went away. And I was like, okay, that was weird. That kind of sucked. Kept walking. Within a minute, it came back and same thing happened. 5 to 10 seconds it lasted. Stopped. About a minute later, same thing. And this happened about 10 times. I went back to my office. I walked back to my office and grabbed my bottle of water and chugged a bunch of water, and it seemed to stop. I went to a meeting and I was sitting in the meeting and I just felt kind of like a weird tightness in my chest, and I started getting a little bit lightheaded while I was sitting in the meeting, and I decided, yeah, this isn't good. Left the meeting, got in my Jeep, and went to the ER. So immediately upon getting there, I was immediately put into a room. They got an IV going. They, got vitals, hooked me up. They put, like 16, 20 leads on me. I think it's a 12 lead for the EKG and then other leads for the vitals that they were doing, or maybe it's 16 leads for EKG, I don't know. But there were a lot of stickies all over me where they had wires attached for most of the day. So they got an EKG going. Once they got the IV in me, they took, 5 or 6 vials of blood, sent those off for labs. I had to pee in a cup. They sent that off for labs. And then they got me scheduled, and within 5 minutes got me in a wheelchair and headed to the CAT scan machine, where they then used my IV, injected dye, and did a CAT scan with contrast, looking at my chest, my lungs, and my heart. And then I went back to the room to really wait for results, and got hooked up to IVs while I was there and got a saline drip going. During that time, I believe they also gave me a shot. I don't remember which one it was. And then we waited for results. And I think that the first one came in was the labs, and they weren't really sure what to do with them, because I had told them that I had just worked out and I had taken a pre-workout before going to the gym. They thought some of the numbers were kind of skewed because of that, but it sounds like it wasn't the full lab results that they first got. So what they were looking at wasn't a full picture of everything that was going on. It was just like the preliminary ones. Then the CAT scan results came back. But meanwhile, you know, they had done the EKG and no one mentioned anything about the EKG to me. No one said anything, whether it looked good, looked bad. CAT scan results came back and they told me that they walked through it, that, you know, lungs looked good, heart, with the contrast, they showed no blockages anywhere, no areas that were any concern of any clots or anything bad, that everything looked really good there. So that was a bit of a relief immediately, that there were no blockages. I wasn't going to need, you know, bypasses or anything of that nature. I'm still thinking that I was having a heart attack. I mean, that's what led me to go to the hospital, was the pain, where it was located, how it came about, the general tightness of my chest afterwards, the lightheadedness. I was scared. I mean, without a doubt, I was scared, and that's what took me to the ER. So it was a relief that there was nothing wrong with my heart or my lungs, but what was going on? So the full test came back from the lab, and that's when one of the doctors came in and started talking to me about my creatinine levels. And I said, hey, my creatinine levels are normally pretty high. They're normally above the normal range. So the normal range goes up to, depending on whose scale you're looking at, the creatinine that I was talking about, creatinine S, goes up to like a 1 or 1.2, 1.27, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I normally sit around 1.4. And he's like, well, strangely enough, that is what your creatinine S level is 1.4. He's like, however, that's not the number that's concerning us. The number that concerns us is your creatinine kinase level. He said, normally that should be somewhere around 100 in most people, and yours is over 2,200 right now. I said, okay, what does that mean? What's going on? And so they're like, well, we're still trying to determine. He's like, you're a little bit, because of the hospital I went to the VA hospital. He was honest with me. He said, you know, you're a little bit of an anomalous case for us, because normally we see elderly people, non-mobile, not working out every day, not getting out and doing hikes, because I had explained kind of the whole backstory. So let me back up and talk about the backstory of this whole thing. So the high creatine kinase level, what that tells you is that there are muscle enzymes going through your blood system. There's two problems there. Number one, that means that somewhere, for some reason, you have muscle breakdown that's going on, that is spilling essentially poison into your blood in the way of being muscle enzymes that are getting into your blood. And then number two is that your kidneys are having to work extra hard to clean that out. And if that continues, it can do lots of things. It can actually damage your heart muscle, it can damage other muscles, and it can lead to renal failure, where your kidneys completely are clogged up and shut down, and that's really, really bad. So I laid out kind of what had happened. So, you know, this was Monday morning. The previous weekend, not the weekend we had just come off of, but the previous weekend, I had done that last hike out at Harriman that I put up the video about. And I don't know, about 15 miles into that, I started experiencing extreme cramping, which isn't normal to me. I've done plenty of miles, I've done plenty of long days, I've done plenty of hot days. I've never experienced cramping like I experienced out on the trail a week and a half ago. And it didn't just last that day. So I didn't sleep well that night because I kept cramping up. Hiking out the next day, even after I had eaten dinner, breakfast, rehydrated, I was still having like pain and cramps. That persisted for 2 to 3 days after I got off of the hike. So Monday through Wednesday of that week, back at work, I was cramping up. I had also been going to the gym, and my workouts hurt. Like, I had mentioned to my wife that I had a pretty crappy workout that week, but I was just trying to keep the consistency. And it was just kind of, I hurt. Like, muscle soreness, DOMS beyond normal. But I didn't think anything of it. These were all signs. These were all things that I should have paid more attention to. Because what it ended up being is everything here, all of my labs, everything points to really the same thing that Dan Becker talked about while he was in the Grand Canyon and had to be airlifted out. And that's rhabdomyolysis, most commonly just known as rhabdo. And that is a breakdown of muscle tissues that then gets into your bloodstream and can cause kidney failure, along with multiple other things such as heart issues, permanent damage to muscle tissue, permanent damage to heart tissue. So it's not something you want to mess around with. And the fact that I have probably been dealing with this over a week wasn't good. So at this point, the doctors talking to me were letting me know that I was being admitted to the hospital, that I was going to be staying, getting IV treatment, getting some other treatment, and taking in fluids as much as possible to try to flush out my kidneys and get me back on track. Meantime, I'm messaging my wife, Stacy, she's going through nursing school, and so she and her friends are messaging back and forth on different things. I'm getting information coming in, and one of them was about a cholesterol medication that I'm taking. So it's a statin, which statins, when you actually go in and do a little bit of research, do actually have a known connection to rhabdo. And so when you combine everything, the situations that I had leading up to this event, the medications that I'm on, what caused it, I don't know. And I don't know that we're going to find out. I think it's just one of those things that medication that I was on, exertion, and just bad luck may have led me to the position where I was in. I don't feel like I pushed myself, and maybe I'm kidding myself. Maybe that hike I did push myself too hard. Maybe I should have, when the cramping started, said, hey, I'm not going to make it to where I was headed tonight, set up camp, take a shortcut out. Maybe that's what I should have done. I don't know. And hindsight's always 20/20. You can go back and assess things that you did, and you should. You really should look at things that have gone on in the past and learn from them. What I'm learning is that I probably should have paid attention to the signs. So one sign by itself, okay, whatever. But I had multiple signs there. The extreme cramps, the cramps that lasted several days, the pain from multiple workouts that persisted, just not feeling quite right. Those are things that any one of them by themselves is benign, but when you start adding them up, maybe I should have paid a little bit more attention. And honestly, had the pain not been here and radiating to my back, where it was located was the only reason that I went to the ER. Had that pain been in my arm, in my leg, in my stomach, I probably would have done nothing about it at all. I probably would have completely ignored it like I ignored all the other signs. It was simply where it was. The fact that it was somewhere near my heart scared me and made me go. So what does this mean for me for the future? Well, really the docs have said I can continue doing everything I've done in the past. I just need to pay attention and listen to my body. Make sure that when I am out hiking, I'm taking in electrolytes and not just plain water. So that will definitely be something that I'm much more diligent about in the future. I will be paying more attention to the way that my body feels and is reacting to things. And hopefully it doesn't take a scare like this for some of you guys to start paying more attention to your bodies and to what's going on. I hope that no one else has to end up in the hospital to get the wake-up call. So my levels, even when I left the hospital yesterday, last night, I was discharged last night after 2 days in the hospital, and my levels were still well above normal. I had come down to about 1600 on the creatine kinase scale, which still is in that rhabdo range. I think anything above 1500 technically is rhabdo range. So I'm still there, and so the doctor did feel confident that I had come down enough that if I continued to eat foods that had salt in them to make sure that I was keeping some level of sodium in my system and continue to drink water, that I would be able to continue to keep it down or keep driving it down. I do have to go back next week for follow-up EKGs and follow-up labs in order to just make sure that it has come down. You know, the worst case scenario would be that I go back next week and the levels either haven't come down or have increased now that I'm off the IV, and that would be bad, and that'd be something that we're gonna have to figure out what is truly going on, because at that point it's obviously something more than the exertion that I did, and I think that until that point, I don't know what I'm doing medication wise is still kind of in question, and something that I need to work out between myself, my wife, and my doctors, kind of figure out what we're doing there, what makes sense. But I did want to make this video to kind of give you guys an update on the things that have been going on. I know some people knew about it, and if you have any questions, anything, you know, about what went on, what led to this, why I didn't react to certain things, leave them down in the comment section below. I'd love to talk more about this. And if you've had experiences with this, I'd like to hear kind of what your experiences were, how the recovery was, and go from there. But appreciate you guys checking this out. I'm doing okay. I'm feeling okay. I'm a little bit tired, a little bit worn down right now. Continue to take this week and just drink lots to make sure that I'm keeping hydrated and keep trying as much as I can to drive numbers down, although I don't know that I'm having that impact. I'd like to think that I definitely am, and next week I'll know better, and I will let you guys know how those follow-ups go next week and where we stand. But anyway, that's all I've got for today. I appreciate you guys checking this out, and I will see you guys down the trail. Yes, down the trail.